March the 30th, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford TheNuclearProctologist.org, and you can find these videos and Fukushima presentations throughout the entire internet. Yesterday's volume was a little loud on the music. Hopefully that's a bit better today. Good day, everybody. We'll come over and say hi to everybody really quick here. We'll just kill the Adobe on the other computer. We don't have two streams. We got a really important stream today. We got 500,000 dead birds on the north coast, Canada and Alaska. And what that means, and I'll wait till I finish. I'll get rid of the guitar coming up here. And what that means for everybody is that you got 500,000 birds that starved to death. They starved to death. They starved to death. And so a lot of people don't understand what that might mean or are able to wrap their mind around that. And I'm just going to really run right head first into that right quick for everybody. What you're looking at is Louise Narrows and the Queen Charlottes. Now this is, I'll fix that for everybody, because we lost the audio. We lost the audio on the, I had to do some rearranging to get the guitar to play this morning. But we lost the audio on the other player this morning. I'll get it later today, or I'll start a new session and not do whatever I done this morning. But anyway, it was a lot of work. So we done the whole coastline in this dinky. Now that's 15,000 miles, 260 days. And at the top of the chart there is Alaska. Now I went right to the border itself. And the tidal pools that I'm going to show you coming up, that's the nursery of the ocean. And so the tidal pools coming up are the nursery of the ocean. And that has 600 algae, 600 kelps. It has around, I'll give you some pictures to give you some kind of context. Right here you can see shellfish. It would have little necks and manila clams. It would have razorback clams. It would have oysters. It would have scallops. It would have mussels. It would have abalone. Now this is from the very top of the chart up by Alaska, right by Alaska. Now if you look at the same spot when I was there, we spent 2 months up there in that part of the coastline. The arrows on the chart is only a representation. It's just a representation of areas that we covered. We covered a lot more than what you see in there. And we put that documentation up at thenuclearproctologist.org. And that's about 2,000 pictures a day of the coastline. We took it in this zodiac. And so instead of seeing a wide abundance of life everywhere, every millimeter, so the birds would come ashore and eat that. The birds would come ashore and eat that. But when the birds come ashore, there was nothing there. So they went back out to sea and starved to death. There was no insects up in the forest because everything was like this is missing. So this is what the whole coastline would normally look like. Everywhere you went, so the birds can come in and they can eat everything, they'd be okay. The birds came ashore, there was nothing there. Now we've done that whole coastline, and just to give you an idea, if you're not really familiar with any of this, wherever the bird landed, this is what the bird would run into, normally. So you can imagine, no problem for the bird to get a meal. But when the bird come ashore, this is what they ran into. Not life, not abundance, not wonder, but it was naked. Totally naked. The whole coastline. So this is pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima in the same spot. And so that spot, I'll come back over here and say good morning to everybody in a second. But that's so important because I'm going to talk about that headline today. 500,000 birds starved to death. They starved to death because when they came ashore, we proved it by going throughout the whole coastline in a little dinky, 260 days, and being mocked and ridiculed and attacked and demonized and vilified. When we got ashore, we got arrested. But we're back up and running. All of our equipment was destroyed. And we had 300 of these presentations taken down. But here's what it looks like now, and this is pre-Fukushima. The birds come ashore and eat. Yeah? And they would come ashore into that forest. They would be able to come ashore into the forest and eat all the insects. All right, now hang on. We're getting there. Bear with me. Let's come over and say good morning, everybody. Let me move me over a little tiny bit. Little to the left, Dana. Get your act together, Dana. We can't wait all day for you. Dana, start saying good morning. Good morning. Let's bring up the other camera. Dana, so you don't look too goofy. Good morning. And so we got Sparrow, Bruce, and Chuck, and Shonykins. Just cruising. Nova, Elaine, Nash. Illusion is over. Good morning, everybody. Let's jump right into it again here. Kathy, test. Yeah, because I went to that stream down there. See that? I didn't know I was down there because I had to refresh my page. That camera, didn't it? But anyway, let's keep going. And did I miss anybody? Because you can't, hi Chuck, you can't comment until the stream starts, right? So everybody's just showing up. Got a good crew here this morning, 25, kicking it. And just get re-uploaded in higher quality, A Beautiful Girl by Dana after, for a 1080 screen. It's nothing exceptional quality, but still higher quality. So die off in the Pacific far worse than anything ever seen before. Experts alarmed over that. What's happening? The death in the is puzzling. Now this is little tidbits of all these stories that they're linked over to. So AP, KTVF, and you can just click on that and you link right over to the original story where they say thousands. This and it's a little bit slow this morning. Might interrupt your stream on your end. But anyway, just to show you how that works, all you're doing is linking you over to the original story. 6,000 to 8,000 carcasses were counted last month on the shores of a lake. On the shores of a lake. But anyway, you can click those links and go over and read all the original stories. You can see all the different stories. Village Port of Graham, Good News Bay, IRA Council talking about it. And what they're talking about is a mass extinction. Something they've never seen before. Hang on. 6,000 in a lake. Now these are saltwater birds. They'll dive 600 feet in the ocean. Regularly chasing squid and herring and mackerel and sardines. Well, not mackerel, I guess, but sardines and anchovies, krill. They're all gone. We showed that. That's an extinction event. And so all the animals are starving to death. Everything is starving to death. And scientists won't talk about it. Academics won't talk about it. Media won't talk about the die-off in Fukushima. They'll talk about bananas and potato chips, walking in the sunshine till you're nauseate and you're sick and you're screaming and you're throwing things at the TV and you just turn it off and walk away in disgust and contempt. Because you won't give it up. Oh, it's like a banana. I like it. For 70 years you've been plugged away at that. But see, Dr. Raymond Gilmedy, I'm going to bring up that other camera just in case I scoop back over. Dr. Raymond Gilmedy, he's got 94 peer-reviewed studies, and this is just some of them. And let's bring up this other one because that can give us a hard time. Biokinetics model of so curium, see the abstract? Curium isotopes. I can bring myself right into the corner. I could do that if I wanted to, I'm like that. Yoink. Hello, everybody. Here you go, Dana. Get back out, man. Get back there, I said. Okay. You all happy now? All giggity. So curium isotopes are a major byproduct. The major byproduct. And so although little use is currently being made of purified curium sources, if such usage is possible, if reprocessing of spent fuel. That's what's above all the reactors in Japan. So iodine and cesium is tracers. That's all it is. It's just a tracer. To let you know that the other couple of thousand man-made ionizing, radiating, cancer-creating, 1800 disease manifestation, atomic atoms are sitting in your environment. So if you see cesium and iodine, I know you got lost in that one. That meant that a chain reaction product is now present in your environment. So Was it a terrorist that done that? Was it bananas that done that? Was it potato chips or walking in the sunshine that done all of this? See, they got nothing to do with it because your body, and every show you got to talk about this. Your body is acclimated to bananas and potato chips and walking in the sunshine. So is everything else on the planet, your clothing. Why do scientists bring that up? Well, because they're nuclear PR firms, public relation firms. They're not nice people. They're twisted, demented, and got an education to know better. Oh, it's like a banana. Pop. But it's not like a banana. That's homeostasis. Your body can't get any more potassium than it already has accumulating into it. It'll naturally equalize it. That's called homeostasis. But man-made sequesters in your organs, muscles, in your tissues, your body, your bones, and then it just hell on your body. Your body attacks it for decades and builds a tumor around it. And so for decades, your body is attacking that with white blood cells from your spleen and your joints and that, displacing your red blood cells, which are carrying your oxygen. And then you're feeling lazy and weak and lethargic and everything. And so are the animals, and so is particularly the animals that are in the environment, and they can't chase down the prey that are left there. So the prey that are left in the ocean are big prey. There's some small prey left out there. I got evidence of that from the 260 days. It was like the bullheads were out there, but you didn't see any schools of anything else. But you did see schools of bullheads throughout the coastline, which was, they had no, and the whales at the top of Vancouver Island, when I was there, I got caught there in bad weather. And there was a group of whales spend the whole time right there in that one little tiny spot. And they were right alongside of me, underneath me. We documented that. And feeding on the bullheads and the kelp itself. But the kelp was emaciated. The kelp was this, sea urchins couldn't crawl up the bull kelp that was there. And it was all full of like long patches of white. So it died, and then it was healthy, and then it died. And so that was the end. That was like through the whole coastline. This was radiation. Like radiation, and you expect it to affect the starfish first, because starfish use water as blood. Same way we use blood, right? And so the radiation that came through, let me keep going on these studies first though. So toxicity of inhaled plutonium dioxide in beagle dogs. He killed beagle dogs for 35 years, never cured them, he just killed them. So 144 dogs, we'll jump to the last part. Third sentence from the top, tumors, lung, skeleton, liver, occurred beginning at about 3 years after exposure. So look at the numbers. Bone tumors, 93 dogs. Does that sound like a banana to you? Does that sound like a potato chip to you? Does that sound like walking in the sunshine to you? So everybody should have had cancer by the time they were 6 years old, according to nuclearproctologists, because they were walking in the sunshine. They should have had the bone cancer, right? Should have had big tumors. Well, they do if you live within 50 miles of a nuclear power plant. But look at the last two sentences. These findings in dogs suggest that similar dose-related biological effects could be expected in humans accidentally exposed to plutonium-238, 239, 240, 231, 242, americium, neptunium, iodines, everything that's coming out of a chain reaction, see? It's not just the plutonium. That's happened to do what they're doing a study on. Okay, plutonium. Plutonium. Stick with those words in your mind. Bear with me. Bear with me. Plutonium. Can Nikki Haley, let's get you over to this camera. Can Nikki Haley stop plutonium from being shipped to South Carolina? I don't know, can she? Can we? She says, look, in a letter to Secretary Ernest Moniz, which is Obama's science czar, and says bananas and potato chips all the time, flying on airplanes. Haley demands that the agency stop shipment en route because it's not like a banana. No, she never said that. She said, we don't want the 730 pounds from Japan. Like if that ship sinks on the way over, they got two military ships worried about stealing 730 pounds of bananas and potato chips. See, don't match up, right? I got terrorist laws, so I got nuclear waste sites. Hey, here's another one. Depleted uranium used by NATO during the bombing of Syria takes its toll. This is documented scientific proof of just Well, depleted uranium had another name. It used to be DOLRAM. No one knows how to get rid of those acronyms, and it ended up with DU. Depleted uranium sounds like innocent, harmless, right? But they actually have Geneva Conventions. You're not allowed to use it because it's a war crime. It's a dirty bomb. If a terrorist gets the same stuff and blows it up, that's a dirty bomb. If you take and put it in munition made in McAllister, bomb manufacturer in McAllister, Oklahoma, they got 1,800 people there full-time making dirty bombs. But anyway, Belgrade, the use of depleted uranium during NATO's bombing of Serbia, and they talk about 200% rises in autoimmune deficiencies, vicious mutations, and vicious illnesses that are unthinkable. But see, the injuries, like cancer, takes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50 years to show up, normally, from exposure. But there's 1,800 diseases show up first. Some of them are called Alzheimer's and dementia and passing on autism to your grandchildren or your children, or heart and liver, lung and respiratory and pituitary and adrenal glands and spleens and pituitary gland issues. See, glands can't be transplanted like an organ. Not that it's easy to get an organ. Someone has to suffer for you to have that organ. The ultimate price many times for most of it. But let's get back to the die-off of the birds. Think about how crazy that is. It's hard to move the screen back a little tiny bit and still keep an eye over here without looking too weird. Eye shifted that way because you got a camera there and a camera there. I got to hook up 2 more cameras. That'll make life easier. But you got to raise the money, and the money we raised so far, we raised another $200, and so now we got 1,060 or something. So we're going to go out, and we might even go to Bamfield at this rate. Take a run across to the mainland, shoot over to the west coast of Vancouver Island. And that'll be our 4th or 3rd trip there, or 4th trip over there. There's a research station there, hasn't reported on it. Now, Bamfield would have an extra 1,800 species besides what we would normally have here. In the Georgia Strait, I'm in Powell River. In Georgia Strait, you would normally have 5,800 species, so highly visible, like the 600 algae, the 78 species of sea anemones, 76 species of starfish, all the shellfish and the mollusks and the snails and the periwinkles, and besides all the clams. And then you would have 6,000 plus invertebrates without the backbones. They're like little shrimp. And then you would have thousands of species of insects just on the first 40, 50, 60 feet of the coastline. Then you would have 168 migratory birds and 148 residential birds. And out of all of that, we only counted 11 species of birds and less than 100 species of marine life. And that literally everything at the high tide zone is completely gone, eradicated. The high tide would have all kinds of sea anemones that could live out of water but needed the salt spray. And it would many very, very highly vibrant colors. So there's a big strip 3-4 feet wide. The entire coastline of Canada, British Columbia, was an oasis. And there's 26,000 islands. These were all oases. Because of the different way the water runs through it, and the oxygen is able to liberate itself in those environments. It's a very rich environment. It's harder for predators to work in that environment. And there's lots of little nooks there for life to thrive. And I dove that coastline and the east coast of Canada for 14,000 hours. And I worked at every industry in both oceans. And that when the fishery collapsed on the east coast, I had 30,000 hooks and 120 gill nets. So in other words, I was highly active in both industries, on both oceans, in every industry, and then commercially diving, and then nuclear on top of that as a hobby now for almost 9 years. And I have a voracious appetite, as everybody is. I've covered 9,000 headlines before I went on the ocean. 9,000 headlines before we launched any expeditions. We flushed it out really well. We weren't we're not random. You know, I have a history on the ocean that's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. The industries that I worked in and the jobs that I had were not just nothing wrong with labor jobs. I was always running the operation. And anybody that worked for me can tell you that it was a pleasure to work for me. I'm the good guy. I'll do all the dishes, I'll do all the cooking, I'll do all the mechanics, all the fixing, I'll do all the driving too if you don't get out of the way, or if you don't knock me out of the way. I don't care. I'll work all day, all night. That's who I was. That's how I got to where I was. That's why I done the things I done. That's why I loved the life I loved. And I grew up in an environment with no automobiles, so I was in touch with nature. But like I am in touch with nuclear. I was on nuclear for 9 years, and I got over 7,000 studies. Lectures gathered up. Majority of them are nuclear. A lot of them are about other stuff that's associated, but directly. I've gathered up every conversation since then, on top of that. But that's before Fukushima. It was just subjects, lectures from Yale or Harvard or Stanford or Oxford or MIT or the Commonwealth or wherever anybody, even lectures that were translated in other languages, in the English languages, and just I bought into it for a long time. I didn't know any better, but I started to learn. I downloaded just about everything Harvard and Yale and Stanford, MIT put out in videos and that, the lectures, for years and years, and listened to it 24 hours a day. Anybody knows me knows that about me. Even in the vehicle, even on the scooter, the headphones on, sleeping all night listening to the lectures all night long. That's how I spent my whole life. I don't like mainstream media. I don't like news per se, unless I'm going to bash it. Am I on the right camera? Yeah. Let's keep going. Start talking about me. Me. Aye. Let's talk about me some more. Diving... I'll just explain something to you before we move on. I've seen lots of birds swim past me. Many times, feeding around me because I'm kicking up sediment or I'm harvesting food from the ocean. Dive as a commercial diver 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day, depending on how fast you are, how much was there. No matter where I went, I can pick whatever I wanted. No matter where I went, you just want a shelter, basically, from the tides and the ground swells. A lot of the time when I was doing that kind of jobs, lots of jobs you didn't have no choice. I remember climbing down wharfs to do inspection on hulls, big ships. And you got to understand the money they're paying you too, man. You appreciate why I'm doing what I'm doing. But that was the nature of me. I climbed down the wharf with all this gear on, and the waves would come right over you, right up to the top of the wharf and go back down again. It's galing 50 miles an hour, and they're going to pay you triple. It's just $475 to suit up for me, and then it's $400 an hour. Not counting the first hour, it's $475 to get me there and suit me up, talk to me. And then a big ship is a slow go. You got all kinds of equipment, and you got sonars that can hurt you. You got to make sure all that's turned off. And so it could be 2 hours before you get in the water. So it's $475 to get suited up, to get down and make sure everything is done, that the intakes are shut off, blah, blah, blah. But I've never turned down a job, no matter how difficult and dangerous it was. I was just natural in that environment. But the ocean would feed life like you can't imagine. Everything's eating everything else. It's a smorgasbord. It's a soup of life. That a glass of water has a billion creatures, 75 to 100 million of them are phytoplankton. And that the birds that are dipping, like the mirrors that are always engaged in the water, they're constantly sucking this nutrition back into them because the drop has 1,000 microscopic animals into it. They poke their head underwater. They consume that. Naturally, there's nothing you can do about it. And they filter that. That's part of their system. They didn't even find that in their tracks. Because like we showed, right, when we were on the 260-day, 15,000-mile expedition, the migratory never came through. The phytoplankton didn't show up. The krill didn't come through. And we spent 5 months on the ocean without coming home. That's more than anybody else done, period. Bar nobody. We done more than anybody else. There's nobody else there who can touch us. We documented and put it up at the Nuclear Proctologist. That's free for everybody. You can go over there and download all the pictures and make documentaries about it if you want to. That's free. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to ask me. That's you. Everybody paid for that. So you can have that ability to tell that story yourself without asking and getting confused or anything else. Go take whatever you want and tell that story. That's free. And every video I put out there is free for you. Everything I got out there is common use. You can take it and monitorize it and sell it in DVDs, give it away, whatever you want to do. I don't care. It's for you. Everything I do every day for here has always been free and will always be free. It'll always be free. I might have a site where I'm charging for DVDs or something to make money, but people can upload it onto the internet. I don't care. But they can buy the DVD in super high quality, so they can see everything in super high quality. And I'll be producing that coming up soon. It's just I have an enormous amount on my table. I don't stop. I don't stop. I have to work all day today, all day tomorrow, and all day Friday to get out on the ocean Saturday and Sunday. I won't be able to get out by Friday. I won't be ready. I can't go out on the boat and have an accident or have something break down or have something go wrong. And I don't have a fortune to go fix everything properly. But I can still fix it properly. It just takes a lot longer. That's all. No biggie. Don't worry about it. You can donate and help at the Nuclear Proctologist with credit cards. And we've been using that now for all the expeditions. Same thing with PayPal. It's totally legit. No one's ever had an issue. No one's ever had any blowback from that. Never been a fail. Never been an issue. You can donate at PayPal, Dana Durnford at hotmail.com, or the Nuclear Proctologist with your credit cards. And we do. We need Skype machines to do interviews to make these more engaging movies or documentaries or presentations. But we got 500,000 birds died off on the coastline. 500,000. 500,000. We've never seen anything like that on this planet in our history. 500,000 MERS may have died because what you find, it would take you 71 years for me to go out and visit every island. But some of those islands are 50, because there's 26,000 islands. But some of these islands are 50 miles long. So it's going to take more than a day. That's if I spend a day on each island. Take me 71 years. How are you going to find all the birds out there in that environment? How are you going to find all the seals? We went out there. We didn't find any mass die-offs of birds. We found mass die-off of everything. It was all gone. Completely eradicated. And the 4 million other species didn't recede the coastline. Yeah? Well, we're only going to do a half-an-hour show today. I got too much work to get done. I want to get out there the weekend and do a bird count. We got low tides coming up this weekend. This is the first time in 5 months or so we've been able to get out on the ocean and do bird count, species count for a couple of days. And we're still going to do our show all week long and all next week long. So I got to get out the weekend. And the weather is perfect today to finish off the projects. So I can get at it and seal things up, and we'll take off on the weekend for a couple of days. No big deal, but we just want to make sure everything is safe. And just because the other DDR player this morning gave me such a hard time, it just wore me out. And I just had to fuddle everything to get it going. But I wanted to come out and make a video, in particular, to talk about 500,000 birds starved to death because everything has gone off the coastline. There was nothing there. Because normally we would eat the krill and the anchovies and the sardines and the squid. That's all gone. The microscopic world is gone permanently. The 4 million other species didn't recede the coastline like the pictures I showed you at the beginning of the stream. We have an event we got to deal with. We can't hide away from it anymore. We can't pretend this is not happening. Look, Chernobyl, there's 3 million children with permanent disabilities. Kofi Annan 2000 at the United Nations podium. Look it up. There's unbelievable amount of deformed children in Belarus, just throwing away children from nuclear. Dr. Raymond Gilmay, like I showed you before, all the radiation killed all the dogs all the times for 35 years. They never tried to cure it once. What screen am I on? Let's come back over. Hugs for everybody. I see you in the chat room. And we're just going to cut it short here today. We'll come back over here. And we'll close it down. Once again, it's a short video. I want it to go out there. That way more people will watch it. You got 500,000 birds died, like the documentation I showed you at the beginning of the video. Because there's nothing left there to eat. The insects are all gone. They went to the lakes farther in. Fukushima, we got to stop the reactors in Japan before we can do anything else. Number one priority, send the nuclear scientists into Japan. They all went to Chernobyl year after year. None of them went into Fukushima. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Don't forget Harvard and Stanford and MIT on the 14, 15, 16 of March 2011. There are videos up at their site about Fukushima on those dates. They said the buildings were destroyed, the reactors were melted down, and the fuel pools were lost. This was thousands or millions of Chernobyls. Chernobyl is a paper towel. But look how bad it was. But it's just a paper towel compared to Fukushima. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody on the rebound tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, British Columbia, Canada time. We'll see everybody there. Take care, folks.